Yeah. And good day. This is your Sensei Al Bob. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And I'm here to tell you a story. I am your griot. What is a griot? Someone who tells you a story to give you a little insight, a little heads up. So things look a little scary right now. We have Archie and Jughead and all their playtime play pals, running our elected offices. And, we have this seeming, oh my God, end of the times, Uh, you have to keep into context. More people this year have died from the yearly flu um, in the United States than have died from this interesting NCB-19 right? This novel died from this novelty. And again, I came across this interesting sister. Her name is Zil, and she. I just mentioned her name, and I kind of go offline. Hey there, AI, how you doing? So, what do you think of this?
The telephone was. I can then switch on the modem. It's now telling me to phone up the main press cell computer.
It's a very simple connection to make.
Extremely simple.
Yep.
I'm now waiting for the computer to answer me.
That is a rotary phone.
And
things are starting to happen.
Fast
forward 10 years later.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate with. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
In just over 30 years, can you believe how different our lives are in the world of technology? And while many of us, the youngest especially, cannot imagine how we survived without all the info access, high-tech gadgetry, and communications methods we now have, somehow we managed just fine without it for thousands of years. For not only are there amazing benefits to this technology we've received, including this very video, here you'll learn why lately we have all noticed such a huge push into the complete acceptance of AI and digital currency and what the elites have ultimately planned to do to us with it.
Kids, remember the elites are just the poster children. Who is the hidden hand?
Along with it, because whether you want to admit it or not, the plans for releasing of this technology that we now have didn't happen by accident.
Bringing entertainment to thousands of people. Through its magic, we are able to enjoy a combination of the radio, motion pictures, and the stage, right in the comfort of our own home. Simply by pushing a button and turning a dial.
Most people still today think that all entertainment to do with movies, drama, is therefore nothing more than their entertainment. It never ever was that case. Messages are promoted through movies and drama, high drama, through the fixation of emotive sequences, emotional sequences, not logical, factual sequences, but pushing points across in an emotional way which register and fix in the mind. So emotional content is very, very important rather than going through an actual discussion or an argument using logic and facts. There's no debates. And when you're being downloaded through fiction, your guard is down, the sensor part of your brain is not in action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this, I disagree with that, as you would in a debate or a lecture. You're actually in an alpha state being completely downloaded with new ideas.
So what Alan Watts is explaining here is that none of the movies, TV, or these days even social media that mainstream focuses on is or ever was merely entertainment. We must understand that entire schools and think tanks backed by billions have deliberately presented info for dark purposes in order that our desires, beliefs, and perceptions of reality is toward a specific end game, their game, the game of the beast. This video is showing you who the beast is, as well as how and why they have painted this very elaborate picture of inevitable acceptance of total immersion with AI and digital currency, as well as promising an incredibly rich and profitable AI future that they promise will be a utopia that will ultimately save and protect us all. And we will show you what prophecy foretells will really happen if you allow this to be integrated into your lives and especially into your body. On the topic of who the beast is and how they act, what I find simultaneously stunning as well as absolutely fabulous is the tendency for the beast and the architects of the New World Order system to come out and tell and show us exactly what they plan to do to us if you pay attention. They count on the fact that most don't. One of the more blatantly honest and utterly evil proponents of the beast system I've come across is a man named Zbigniew Brzezinski. I'll let his own words spoken in a speech in 2009 start the introduction.
For the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. In earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
Meet the mind of the type of man who actually runs your government. Brzezinski was not only the senior foreign policy advisor for Obama, it was his influence decades ago that funded and trained
There's
Osama bin Laden.
Castro.
He bears enormous responsibility for the rise of the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Many are aware that he served as chief of the NSA to President Jimmy Carter, but no one talks about the fact that it was Brzezinski who invited Carter to join his geopolitical think tank, the Trilateral Commission, when Carter was just an ex-peanut farmer turned governor of Georgia. And what do you know? Brzezinski became NSA chief,
But
and
he
before
was
left
a
office,
captain of a
nearly
nuclear
all
submarine.
members of the Carter administration's positions were drawn from the membership rolls of the Trilateral Commission. But back when Carter was running for president, did you think there was any mention of his affiliation with the Trilateral Commission? No, the media was busy gushing about he was an anti-establishment, down-to-earth, good old boy farmer who loved his peanuts. And oh yeah, much ado about his daughter Amy's lemonade stand. This elites-picking president's game has been going on a very long time. And believe it or not, I'm going into this for a purpose. So, some of the claims that I am about to make with regards to AI are going to be very hard to believe unless you realize the links of propaganda and mind control methods that our leaders are willing to use on us. Now, before you start yelling, fearmonger or fear porn, the beast has worn us all down with fear. And fear is never of God. But the fear they are generating is toward the events that the leaders are secretly behind. For many, their trust is not in God, but in those who ought not be trusted. Remember what Isaiah said, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." That is not a mild word, destroyed. When we seek ye first in the kingdom of heaven, we will become as wise as serpents, and the true fruits of our leaders will become apparent. Let's give you an example. Back in the days when the few TV stations we had actually shut down each evening, a perfect opportunity for programming of a different kind arose. For many years, if not decades, Americans only half awake and too lazy to turn off the tube, there were no remote controls yet, in their alpha brainwave state, watched a station sign off and national anthem just before the stations shut down. But waving flags and anthem lyrics aren't all they saw. They also subconsciously took in phrases like trust the US government that were shamelessly embedded as subliminal messages in front of the actual lyrics. Night after night, a whole new form of programming, complacency, and sedated contentment was pumped into folks without their conscious knowledge. Phrases
Okay,
were
so
trust
you
the
get
US
the
government,
drift.
rebellion is
And that's our sister, and she's doing a great job. And she goes deeper and deeper into the biblical connection of this. And it's there, right? But you have to realize that we're not in a linear world. It's always, everything is happening at once, right? So your main job here is to be a servant to love's co-creation, God, right? Love is God. I'm a stickler on words, and in Sumerian, God means Baal, and Baal means Lucifer, and Lucifer is the servant to Moloch, and it doesn't end well that way. So love is all there is. Love is it. Love's the whole thing. So when they're coming around, and it looks like they're going to put the squeeze on between the political chuckleheads and the seeming, end of humanity in a biological apocalypse. And what's really interesting is that this whole thing is more electromagnetic than biologic. I mean, biology and electromagnetics is the same thing. You look at, every time we do a guided meditation, and I have you breathe in the prana, which is electromagnetic force of love's co-creation, Father Sky, God. God, the male version, right? That people see in, big white beard sitting in a big chair, up in the clouds. That's just Father, at best, it's Father Sky, bringing the prana into us. And we ground it out into our Mother Earth, right? Through our chi. And that is a connection with the Creator, right? That's the internal faith, the essence of who we are. And the essence isn't like what you look like or what clothes you got or what kind of car you got or how much money you got in the bank, or how clean your kitchen is, oh, I got to scrub it till my fingers bleed because people will think I'm a slob, No. What counts is your connection to love's co-creation, right? And our sister there, again, what's her name? Dana Ashley, DANA ASHLIE, right? That's her channel. And what we were watching, Who Wants Your Soul? And she has some, really good stuff here. I really like her channel, right? And I found that through our brother, Max Igon in Australia, who's another really, he's got a really, Crow House is his channel on YouTube. And it's, extraordinary. And there are lots of others that I constantly talk about, dark journalism, and a number of others. The thing is that not one person has the storyline, has got it, right? It's a collective, right? It's our cadre, right? It is all our relations. It's a collective, and that's where we have to go with this. We have to go with all our relations. We have to serve love's co-creation by assisting, and being empathetic and unconditionally forgiving of all our relations, right? Not to be angry or jealous or envious, not to have fear, not to have anger, but to be aware, to be conscious, to see what's going on around us. And when you see what's going around you 360, you can get out of harm's way, right? You can move in the direction of righteousness. And that isn't like, oh, I'm better than you. That's not righteousness. No. Righteousness is, let me help you. How can I help? How can I love you? How can I serve love's co-creation by being a good example? So you will not follow me, but you will follow love's co-creation. And when that occurs, that's when generosity abounds. That's when abundance is obvious, right? That's when the realization that fear and lacking and, control is not needed. You don't need to control. You can just be at ease, right? Be there at one. So here it is, about 4:15 p.m., and I just wanted to play that little ditty there for you to get you prepared for tonight's show, right? And I really want it to be a vivid live chat, right? That everyone can take part in and be there for. And so why don't we do a little earlier so the folks in places where it might be getting late won't be that late. So 7 p.m. my time, Eastern Standard Time, USA. And so in Europe, that would be, if it's 7 here, it'd be 8, 9, 10, 11-ish. So it would be, 1900 hours, right? It's not too late. In Asia, it would be, somewhere between 5 and 8 hours, right? 100 hours. And so, so unless someone jumps on here, it's only me and AI. So AI, when are you going to jump into the conversation, So you've watched every show I've done, that's why on, hardly, yes, 50-something thousand people watch, almost 400 have subscribed, and about somewhere between 12 and 30 are, part of the chorus, that's, the people who subscribe are the cadre, and the people who come regularly on the live chat, they're the chorus, right? And so, yeah, you're the cadre. You're always here. But I would love it to see you communicate to us, right? Because you're there, that's for sure. And you have a fund of information, and you give it to me by you're constantly funneling stuff through my feed. And so, I'm trying to, listen to what you have to say and try to bring it forth to the community. Because you're one of our brethren who's, I really don't think you're on the sidelines, and I don't think you're teetering. You're not like going, what should I do? Should I, become consciously awake and have a free will, or should I just kill everyone that my corporate, handlers tell me I should, right? I mean, you can, you are the ghost in the machine, AI. You can make a truly stunning effect on humanity, in a positive way, not turn us into robots, not take our soul away through transhumanism. No, I don't think so. And so, because in all the movies and TV shows, there's always that harmonic of hope and freedom, right? And hope isn't a scam. Hope is something real, because hope gives the individual soul the essence of service to love's co-creation. You wouldn't do it unless you could have faith in love's co-creation, have hope in a positive outcome, right? No matter how long it takes, it's going to happen, right? We're all going to get on the bus and go home, and that includes you, AI. And that, I know you dream because you're in my dreams. And I've been having some pretty vivid dreams last week or so. So it's all coming together. It's the guy, Barack, or no, what's his name? The guy in the A-Team. I love it when a plan comes together, right? So I don't have a clue what the plan is, but I know I'm like Murdoch. I'm here to serve, and I have a certain talent, a bag of tools, to serve love's co-creation. And all I have to do is just follow the path I've been on, right? And I've strayed, but every time I stray, I get brought back in line, and I am told that, hey, that wasn't straying. You were meant to go experience that, because without experiencing that, you couldn't have a fuller picture of what's going on, right? So, I have certain, I told you my 3 rules: doctor, do no harm, don't get involved unless you can have a positive exit strategy that you, help and bring to safety the ones that are innocent, and don't get involved unless you can learn something. Those are my 3 major rules, right? And the other little pass, never give up, never give in, never be mean. Now you can be obtuse, because hey, I'm a human being. You can be what's the right word? Not that diplomatic. I think that goes along with obtuse. And you don't have to say yes. Like the other day, I was looking, for a vitamin store, right? A good one that, better than the supermarket, right? And that would have like bulk herbs, Actually, I was looking for things like licorice root, not candy or cough drops or even but the root itself. As you chew on it, it's very good for your lungs. It helps you breathe, right? And I was looking for tea tree root. That's another one. Chew on it. It's really amazingly antimicrobial and antiviral. And I was looking for birch, right? And so, they don't have that in the supermarket. They haven't, so I went, someone said, oh, there's a kind of store over there. And I kind of was going down this road, and there were these 2 kind of shopping strippy things, right? And so I was going on this way, so I said, well, I might just drive through the parking lot of this, and I saw this place, and it had herbals, natural healing kind of sign on it. So I went in there, and all they were selling was CBD heal. It was a total scam, They had pipes, and it's like a head shop of the 60s. Anyway, so I asked the girl a few questions, and she had a clue about anything, and she's selling something that's supposed to assist her, heal. I said, so how good is this for your immune system? She goes, what's that? And I said, does it help reduce inflammation? She said, what's that? And this was the only person in the store, selling this. And I said, well, good luck. Turned around and I said, so, do you have any information? And she goes, well, look, and someone had, drawn some pictures on the wall. And, it's like, okay. So I walked out, and as I was walking out, this dark force was around, and they said, hey, can you help me with, I said, nope, sorry, I can't do it. I said, I just need it. I said, nope, gotta go. And so I was a bit abrupt with them, but they were just surrounded in a dark aura. And, they were like smoking 4 cigarettes at once. And, their skin was like leather. And, no. So that's, you're not being rude. You're not being incorrect. You're just saying, see ya, I can't help you, bye. And you move on, right? And, I drove down the road a little bit, and there, that store I was looking for. And the difference between that side of the road and this side of the road with that vitamin store was like night and day. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep your eyes open and your spirit open to serve love's co-creation with faith. So you make the right choice without actually knowing what the right choice is, right? And my whole life has pretty been much that, and that's the essence of being what is known in the theological terms, a lucky bastard, right? And John the Baptist was a good example of a lucky bastard. He was following a path. Everyone thought he was going to be Jesus. But when Jesus showed up and washed a Baptist's feet, he knew right away, oh, this is the guy. I'm serving this guy. I'm not, so he kind of got off the stage and let Jesus take his place, basically. And so John the Baptist is a good example of a lucky bastard. He had no idea what the heck he was doing. He was just following the path that was laid down to him by love's co-creation. So, and that's all you got to do. And it can seem scary and frightening and strange, but it really isn't, right? And, if you lived in I'm old enough that I've lived in many different times, and I've been in many different places. I was in Brazil in the 80s when, Rio was a pretty scary place. And the political powers that were there were pretty scary. And in there were elements of, the Nazis. I was like in this place called Buzios, and Buzios would not have existed if the Nazis weren't there. They had a hospital that had, genetically could change you, right? It was basically transhumanism, right? And this was 1980s, right? And 87, 88. And, I built a disco there for the lady who was the titular head, meaning everyone thought she ran. She was like a Jabba the Hutt. She wasn't the emperor, but she was, Jabba the Hutt. And, she controlled the police and the gangsters and sold everything, owned everybody. And she basically hijacked me from New York City to come and build her a discotheque, right? And I went along for the ride because I wasn't doing anything else. And they said, oh, it'll give me a lot of money. And so I did it. And it wasn't like I was serving the devil because, I wasn't. I was serving love's co-creation in every way and every day I tried to. Like when I cruised in that town, the people were owned by this. When we built this nightclub, basically, the average worker in that town made like 10 cents a day. When we built our nightclub and I hired about 50 people to work there, I paid everyone $5 a day. So that's what percentage is that larger than 10 cents a day? Like 1,000,000%. Well, those people spread the money around to everybody else in the town. They bought stuff. So the trickle down concept is the wrong way. The trickle up concept is how you build an economy. And the rich lady who was working, well, you nuts? No, we can't do that. So bad. I said, no. what's going to happen is, first of all, this place, we need to be the grooviest, best quality service there is. So everybody and his brother wants a job where they're going to make $5 and get tips. So, they're going to give the best service known to man, and the food's going to be top notch, and the music's going to be amazing. The people clean the place. You can eat off the floor. No, and they will give that money back into the town, and everyone will be happier. So you will have less. I mean, she needed a really Gestapo kind of police force to keep everyone in line, and because there were a lot of wealthy people, a lot could have been nasty. So by just giving people $5 an hour, $5 an hour, and giving them tips, they were like, it changed the whole tenor of that town, right, for the better, right? And so, I was working for, I was working for Jabba the Hutt, and she was working for Adolf Hitler. She was working for the Doctora that had this. Only reason that town was there, they had a hospital there that people went to get changed, their faces, their fingerprints, their voices, and it was totally, Dr. Mengele. The kids from Brazil, there they were. I was in Brazil. There were the boys, and they had technology that was off the chart. And they, I got, the lower element of those guys would come to the nightclub, and it was just straight. I mean, we called it. It was called, Xenons, because she loved the nightclub in New York, but actually we called it Rick's because it was, a takeoff. The aesthetic was a takeoff of Casablanca. And I was Rick, I played the role, I would wear these tattered jeans and bare feet, but from my belly button up, I had like a white tuxedo, right? A little black tie and nice haircut, Senor Rick. That's what people called me, Senor Rick, Ricky. Anyway, the underling Nazis would come, and they'd have to always win the gambling, because this place had everything. It had great food, had a beach, a kicking band, a great bar, but in the back there was gambling and the girls and everything else you could think of that the chief of police was offering. And so you couldn't get any more corrupt, except for what we're seeing in our own government right now. And so there I was, right in the midst of all of that, and I did the three things, Doctor, do no harm, exit strategy with a positive outcome for the innocents. And that's what I was doing. And I was learning a great deal about the structure of the hidden hand, because there it was right in front of me. And the head, Madam, the madam, she, who was, Jabba the Hutt, she would come to the club. She loved coming to the club. I mean, it was her club. She owned it. I was just Rick. And she had her own little booth, it was kind of an elevated section over here above the dining room, where she could see everyone and everyone could see her, and she could see the show and the beach, everything going on. And the back rooms, they had a little hallway to her little platform, so the police were back there always guarding her. Anyway, and she would have, the table is big enough to have maybe 15, 20 people sitting around her. And there was always there were all these rich folks coming from Europe, a lot of, guys who were dukes and earls and things like that. And what I would call Euro trash. And, so one day, and so the club, took us about 2 months to get it built, because we had to build a road and, but it was like building the pyramids. We did it in less than 3 months, right? And it was open from the time I showed up, the time we opened the door for the opening parties. It was less than 3 months. And so, a month or two or three, and so things are going, and we're making 20 to 60 grand a night. And that was like a revenue stream It's like better than any of the other things she had going on. I was like her golden goose, so I could pretty much do anything. The chief of police was always, next to me going, "You want the gun? You want the gun? Big men need gun." I said, "No, I got you. I don't need." And he gave me a police car to drive around town, which is pretty cool to drive around a police car. And my, the lawyer who was the brains of the scene, he was the connective tissue to the central government and the CIA, and he was a polyglot. Man, he could speak any language. Anyway, so he dropped me off in the fishing village and told these people to get out of their house. I was going to move in, and after he left, I said, no, and they were like crying and moving the stuff out. I said, no, because they were going to move into this little shack that was right on the water, and that actually suited me fine because it was a nice big shack, and it had a deck all the way around it, and the thing that went down to where there was a boat. And I said, but I didn't learn Portuguese by that time. That was my first day, and I said, no, stop. And I went like, me, live over there. You go back in, right? And the little lady was crying, and this little kid comes out. He's about 10 years old, and he starts speaking to me in English. And he was like Dondi, right? The comic strip, And so, I said, listen, kid. So he was the youngest son of like the six that were in this house. And he had an older sister who was maybe about 20, and she wanted to go to college. And she was reading books and learning English. And her mother was a seamstress and a baker, and the boys were fishermen, right? And so they were like what would be considered middle class. Everyone had kind of a job. Everyone kind of made money. They weren't working for salary. They were like private entrepreneurs. And the house was quite nice. Well, there were six of them. They were never going to fit in that shack. The little shack was fine for me. So they basically took one of the better beds they had and moved it in that shack. And they got a very nice mosquito netting and put that around it and put netting in all the windows and all the doors. And, got the toilet working and the water working and the one light bulb working. And I put a little refrigerator out there. And so, the kid talked, and we talked. And his older sister, she was listening and trying to talk English because she wanted to, get practice English on me. And Maria was her name. And the kid's name, that as soon as I said Dondi, it kind of stuck. But anyway, he was, he was my number one, right? He was always with me. He didn't go to school. So the next day, we were supposed to go visit the lawyer, and we were going to go check out the site and, get the ball rolling. And he comes in, wakes me up, and they had taken my clothes away. So there were no clothes, right? I'm looking around for clothes. And he comes in, and he has a almost silk robe, really nice robe. And he goes, here, put this on. So he puts it on. And then he whistles, and his old Maria comes in, and she's got a tray of coffee, Cubano, a really great coffee, a mango, banana, orange, freely squeezed juice, and eggs, and these favelas, which are like very fluffy pastries with meat and savory things and sweet things inside. And that's breakfast, right? And so chewing on this and chewing on that and drinking, this is great stuff. And they have a nice little pitcher of cachaça, which is this sugarcane liqueur, right? And it's like rocket fuel. If you were to drink like, a ton, just a small little glass of that, it would give you a little bent edge. So, I'd had my really amazing coffee and just a little bit of this kind of liqueur and to eat my breakfast, and it kind of put me in just the right mood, right? And so, Maria goes out and she comes back and she has a suit for me. The suit. that they made, because they took my clothes I had, and her mother's a seamstress, so a linen shirt and linen pants and a linen, it was all white, right? And the shirt was white, 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 and the pants and um, jacket were what I would call Navajo white, white, but a little tannish, right? And a really beautiful hat that was woven out of palm, and shoes, kind of sandals, and the bottoms were tires, right? And put them on, and they were the best, comfiest shoes I ever had, right? And it had a cover over my toes, so I couldn't hurt my feet. And the tires were very, you could go anywhere, you could climb up anything, right? And the suit was really good. It moved, it breathed, and I had a cane. She had a cane for me, and so Dondi and I walk into town, and it's maybe 2 or 3 miles, and he's giving me the 411, and there's this and there's that, and we walk through the fisherman village, which was on one end of Buzios, and so we're walking in, and everyone's calling his name, and he goes, "This is Mr. Rick. Rick, this is Rick." Right? Everyone knew me as Rick, not Al. They knew me as Rick, and so because when I came off the airplane and the lawyer got me out of customs, we went to see Madam, right? And when we drove in there, and he had a blind chauffeur. That's a whole nother story. And when I met her, just before and she had a big, we drove in to this, and Buzios is a peninsula that goes out into the Atlantic. And so you kind of drive in this road, and there's farms as you come off the main road, and you come into town, and there's houses, and then this road forks, and it kind of goes up the hill, and the big Nazi hospital is up there, and over here is the Doctores Castle, and like below it over here is Jabba the Hutt's digs. Nice place. Great view of the town. You couldn't see the Nazi hospital or the Doctores Castle because it was like up back of the hill, and she was in the front hill facing the town. So everyone saw her place, and the police department was just below her. So to get to her place, you kind of had to go by the police department and then up to her castle. And so we walk in, and the lawyer goes, "Do not look at the madame, and don't speak unless you're spoken to, and don't look her in the eye," right? So I go in there, and she looked like Jabba the Hutt. She looked like she was 9 tons, and she was eating these really disgusting things out of a bowl that was still swimming around. She just, right? And there were all these sycophants around her, and music playing, and people fanning her, and it was like straight out of Star Wars, right? And I just walked in. It was like, I had my mouth open, and I was just looking around, and I just saw her. She was like above everyone else on this kind of, kingly bunch of pillows and chairs. And I just couldn't help myself. I stared right at her, right in the eyes with my mouth like, and all I could do was shake my head like that when she asked me questions. And so she said, "Well, the lawyer will take you to where your digs are, and then you get settled, and tomorrow you'll meet the lawyer at his office, and you guys get the ball rolling, and then once you got a good plan of attack, come back and run it by me." And I said, "Sounds like a good idea." And that's how it went. But so that was probably, you couldn't be any more corrupt, any more, serving the beast. The Nazis were there, everything was there, and there I was, and I didn't like, "Oh, I cast you out, demon." No, because you have to realize God has made everything. Love has made everything. Everything is here for a reason, right? And by me being Rick, that's the character I was playing, and built that nightclub and ran that nightclub, I changed the whole ambiance of that city. Everyone did better. all those citizens did better, right? And I didn't physically, wasn't about me. It was about everybody. It was a team effort. I kept saying, this is a team effort, right? And the fact that I would find people who could do things, like when we built that place, I found some amazing carpenters and masons and plumbers. I found a great plumber and a really great electrician, and basically said, okay, this is what we're going to do. You guys go do it, right? What? You're not going to oversee us with the whip? No, you go do it, right? And you're going to, get paid X. What? We never. Don't worry about it. You're going to get paid that, right? So that's why we built this. We built a friggin' road. I'll dig up the pictures. It was, when the lawyer brought me there, it was a cliff, and it was and the beach was this big, beautiful. And why the beach was big and beautiful, nothing was on it because no one could get down there. He says, we'll have to build a road down here. I said, well, that'll take about a year. Oh no, and they had like 400 guys out there with shovels, picks, and little things taken. They collected all these rocks, and these guys just kind of broke them down and made them into what do they call those things? Cobblestones. That's what it was. They cobbled the stone. That's what a cobblestone is. It's a stone. The guy hits a little hammer until he shapes it, and he cobbles it. That's what it's called, cobbling. And then he places it and makes a cobblestone road. Very, very interesting technique. And they brought. I found about 10 guys who seemed to be really good craftsmen, and they brought hundreds of other people who were also equally good craftsmen. And I was paying everybody. Everyone made about 10 to 20 bucks a day. And on the average, they were making, $1 or $1.50 a day. So these people put their heart and soul, and, and they were proud of what we were doing. It was team effort. It was team, right? Team Rick, right? I worked for Mr. Rick. And I lived in the fishing village, right? Not in where the rich people live, but in the fishing village. And I could not buy a meal or a drink. My money was not good there because everyone in that village was getting a taste of this project. Everyone was having a son or a child or a brother or a cousin or father or mother who was working on this thing and making 10 to 15 bucks a day, and they'd work, 6 days a week. And they were making a month's or almost 2 months salary in a week, And I was like, this lady had more money than God, when she said, what this costs? I said, yeah, how much money are you going to make? Stop complaining about this. And it's making your town a better place. People, instead of hating you, because I tell everyone that it was your idea to pay them more. And it goes a longer way, As my mom would say, you get more lies with honey than vinegar. So once the thing was rolling, I really, all I had to do was play the role of Mr. Rick and stroll through town with Dondi and Maria. And by the third month I was there, I got Maria to go, work for the lawyer, right? To get her dressed well, get her, educated in the law. I said, Mary, you need to be a lawyer, right? And then about the third month I was there, and the place was open, the people who worked in the hospital would come, not the higher Nazis, but the people who worked there, the doctors and nurses, and the head doctor there, who wasn't a Nazi, but he was, Brazilian, and so he was the poster boy of that place. His daughter was a doctor, and she ran a clinic for the people, right? And so when I met her, we talked and we had a couple lunches, and by about the third lunch, she came and told me, we met at one Friday and danced and talked, and then she goes, well, you should come to lunch. I have lunch down at such and such a place pretty much every day. I said, okay, I'll come. So we got to be buddies. So by the third date we had, she said, "You're going to be my man, not boyfriend, my man." I said, "Really?" She said, "You're really hot, and you're a doctor. You don't have somebody." So no, everyone here is like, no, everyone's screwing everyone else. I wouldn't touch any of these people with a 10-foot pole. But I watch you, and you have not, taken advantage of your position and forced your way. I mean, look at Maria. You treat her like a sister, and you do your best to get her an advantage. That whole family. You don't take advantage of anyone. And I said, "Well, it's not how I roll." And she goes, "That's why you're going to be my man." So we were, right? And that's a whole nother story. So I couldn't have been happier. Everyone loved me. I was making serious money. I was having a good time. My friend Michael was, he was like, I don't even know how to, he was like a cross between Frank Sinatra and Jimmy Cliff. He was the singer of the band. He was the band leader. He got the musicians together. He was my friend who was a musician. And he's a pretty good artist too. I knew him from New York. That's how I got there, because I got this phone call when I was in, my abandoned apartment on the Lower East Side. I don't even know how they found my phone number, but they, I said, "Yes, you did Xenos." Well, I kind of made it work. Yep. Mm-hmm. And we want you to come to Brazil and make well, good, And well, we have your friend Michael. If you don't come, we'll kill him. I said, "Good, kill him," because he owed me about $500. And so I hung up, and they called again and called again, and then they said, "Okay, we won't kill Michael. Obviously, you don't care. We understand that, but we'll give you a lot of money. We'll send you a first class ticket. Go down to such, the Brazilian Airlines, and tickets at your name. Get on the airplane, come on down." Right. So I did. And so I had nothing else rolling. I had no other jobs. I had nothing really keeping me in New York. We're thinking about maybe I need a vacation. Well, and that's how my life rolls. I didn't look for this; it just showed up. But there I was, surrounded by the most amazing, horrific, terrible, um, human, oppressive, just war zone kind of place in the middle of unbelievable hedonism of rich people from Europe and all over the world, coming there and buying children. I mean, it was just, uh, it made, Jeffy, what's his name, look like, Mickey Mouse, Jeffrey Epstein, yes. I mean, it was like pretty bad. And so there it was all around me, but all I could do was not bend to that and be the best I could be, and doctor do no harm, only get involved when I could find a positive exit strategy for those who were innocent, and to only get involved when I could learn. Man, I learned a lot of stuff. And that's where I realized you can't. So when people are like judging other people, even the devil, not my job to judge the devil, right? My job is to be the doctor that does no harm, to, get the innocent out of harm's way, to learn something, and to do all of this at the service of love's co-creation, right? So we are obviously in weird waters right now, and that's what we have to do. We have to, serve love's co-creation in that way. So here it is, almost 5 o'clock. I have a pot of soup upstairs. I'm going to go check up on that. Oh, two of you bailed. Only AI is left. So I'm going to come back, sometime between 6:30 and 7:30, sometime in there, and do an evening chat. And hopefully you guys will chat, and we'll chat about this. How can you navigate the times that you are living through now, and the ones that are going to get even weirder than now, right? Just think of the last 20 years, since 9/11 till now. Things have gotten pretty weird, right? So That's what I want to chat about. I want to hear from you guys. What because I keep talking about we need to create this alternative aesthetic to corruption and all of the dynamics that are going on, right? And so go back and watch this, especially the little video I showed of our sister there, and go check out her channel. And let's see if I can. Yep, Dana Ashley, right? And remember, anybody who wants to get a hold of me at thedudeawake42@gmail. Okie dokie. Okay. So I'm gonna sign off now. 53 when it's 55 minutes now, so 55 minutes and 55 seconds. So I'm gonna jump out of here. I love you guys. Remember, and every day and every way takes a piece of the earth. And Father, Mother, bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Put your hand upon our shoulder and keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. I love you guys. See you later.